What's going on, everyone? So now that the Anghkooey children have finally been revealed, and we know kind of more details and insight into the Anghkooey children, I imagine that we're going to kind of continue to unpack, continue to dive in. But we now know that Jade and Tabitha were once, many, many moons ago, a couple, and the girl that kneeled in front of Tabitha and unlocked their memories with the Anghkooey, which Met remembered. As soon as that happened, right, we got a pretty good insight into what happened, and that the children were sacrificed. It's how the monsters were able to become the monsters that they became, and the immortality and all that. And that Tabitha and Jade, whatever their names was at the beginning, we don't know yet, but let's say, John and Mary, right? They were the original settlers there. They were the ones that tried to save the children and ultimately failed. And now they've been forever kind of cursed to relive lives until they figure out a way to save the children. And I imagine that's going to kind of be the path that we continue to go down. But one of the things that kind of wrecked my brain, and I'm like, okay, well, how far are they going to go with the Anghkooey children now, right? Is that basically it? They showed up, helped Tabitha and Jade remember and unlock their memories, and that was that. And now they're just going to ride off into the sunset until, they're saved type thing? Or do they kind of play a more prominent role moving forward? Do they kind of have more significance and importance going forward? I don't think that it's going to be something where they're like, all the Anghkooey children are like main characters in it now. But I mean, in the sense of like, are Tabitha and Jade able to maybe communicate now and actually have real conversations with them and have dialogue and maybe get some information, right? Yes, they unlock their memories, but how much do they actually remember? How much do they need to kind of have those, like, how like Victor is trying to like dig up all these like little mementos and, is having conversations and stuff to try to unlock the past and try to remember things. Is that something that happens with like Tabitha and Jade, right? Do they kind of have this where they are able to now understand the dialect that the Anghkooey children are talking and able to have conversations back and forth, maybe help kind of unlock and piece together some of the story, right? Like, what exactly happened? How did it happen? What happened to you after, right? Like, why are the children still there, right? Did somebody come and have them there? Like, where do they stay? Do they disappear? Do they, are they always there? They're just like invisible to most. Like, it's like there's a million things that need to be kind of asked and questioned about these children, that I do think that there needs to be more dialogue. I do think that there needs to be more inclusion of them in this upcoming season and maybe even potentially seasons going forward, depending on how much they kind of unpack here. But I really do like the idea of like, well, primarily just at least bare minimum, Jade and Tabitha having dialogue with at least their daughter, the one that's their daughter, right? You would think that like, okay, like I know that that's my daughter now, and my daughter's here, and I can communicate with her, and we can kind of spend some moments together. Like, wouldn't you do that? Right? Like, you're in this place, right? Like, I don't think it's going to be something where that's it, and the Anghkooey children, they're gone, right? Like, no, like the whole point is like they need to be saved. You got to kind of fix what was broke in the beginning, and what better way to kind of do that than to have kind of the Anghkooey children play a part now and have some dialogue and have some communication and maybe give us some details that we might be missing, and even from an audience standpoint, right? Like, I mean, they could even explain how it all happened from the beginning. How did they all end up there, right? What was it always this like mythical place, or, was it normal at some point, right? Did it become evil through the sacrifices and stuff like that? There's still a lot of things, right? Like, we know that the story was that the children were sacrificed, and that essentially created the bottle tree, right? Their hopes and dreams, became the roots that stem from the bottle tree, right? But were they there and essentially trapped and stuck like the current inhabitants, or were they free to go and, like settlers or whatever, right? And then through the events that happened, this place, FROMVILLE, became FROMVILLE, right? Like, there's a lot of things that obviously the Anghkooey children know, and they were trying to get Tabitha and Jade to unlock some of those memories. They were trying to get Tabitha and Jade to open up their minds here, right? Like, because that was the whole point. Anghkooey means remember, right? So they wanted them to remember. They wanted them to understand and know who they were, not be afraid of them anymore, right? Understand why they can see them and all that. Well, I don't imagine that that's just going to go away. At least I don't think it should. Now, I'm not saying that they have to be in like every episode now and you have to, like, they're the answer to everything. No, I mean, they're still children. I'm sure that they're very oblivious and don't know a lot of things, but they've also probably been there for a long time, which means they probably have seen things. And, that's what I'm talking about. Like, can they explore? Or are they kind of confined to like the bottle tree area? But like they were in Tabitha's house, right? Like, so, like, how far can they go? Have they seen things? Have they heard things? Like, like, do they know who the man in yellow is, right? Do they know who the boy in white is, right? Like, there's a lot of things, a lot of details that can kind of be unpacked and unraveled through the Anghkooey children, right? They got to have some knowledge. They got to have some details. Who sacrificed you exactly? Was it the man in yellow? Was it somebody else? Right? Was it did the monsters all kind of do it collectively? Right? Like each one like took out their own child or something? Right? Like what happened to the previous people? Like when the massacre happened with Victor, like how did everybody die? Was it the monsters? Was it the man in yellow? Was it something else? Right? Like, do you kind of have like a time limit? Right? And it's like if you don't kind of solve the puzzle in time, like FROMVILLE kind of just resets itself in a way and everyone just kind of dies. Right? Like there's a lot of things that I do think can kind of be unpacked here that I'd like to see be unpacked. That I'd like to see the story kind of delve into and, kind of gather some information and keys. And I just think that there's a lot of things that you can kind of have answered and solved through just simple dialogue and use somebody like the Anghkooey children in order to unlock that dialogue. I just think that there has to be more purpose to the Anghkooey children outside of like, hey, we just wanted you to remember who we are, right? Like that's it. I mean, granted, they're children, so you can argue like children, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to know, right? I'm sure it's very lonely in a lot of ways. Yeah, they have each other, but like imagine every time you're trying to like reveal yourself to your mother or whatever, like they're like petrified of you, right? It's just like, it'd be sad. It'd be like, man, and I'm sure that they want to get out and escape and don't want to see the horrors and all the people dying and all that stuff over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I do think that there is this opportunity here to kind of give us a little more story with them, give us a little more screen time with them, give us a little more just history of FROMVILLE and the children and Tabitha and Jade. And, instead of Tabitha and Jade just having all the answers, they got to still kind of unpack things, right? Maybe, yeah, they have their memories. They still remember things from Jade and Tabitha and others or Jade and Miranda or Christopher, Christopher and Miranda. And, but they don't have all of, like, pieces are missing. Things kind of feel like how Tabitha had that reoccurring dream, which now kind of seems like, okay, well, I guess it was a memory, right? Okay, well then, does she now remember all the details about that? Or is it something that needs to be unpacked? Maybe the Anghkooey children kind of help with that. I don't know, I want to see a little more development in that story, personally. But as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, yes, you need to have more dialogue? You need to have more kind of understanding and breakdown of it? Do you think, no, absolutely not? Like, just keep it simple, keep it straightforward. Like, you don't need to have them involved anymore. Let Tabitha and Jade kind of unpack things themselves and figure things out themselves. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I would love to hear it. So please let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.